Hey, my friends, Master Brown here. It is Monday, December 27th. Is that what it is? 27th. I hope you had a great holiday, although it's not theoretically over since we have New Year's coming up here. Coolest thing I got, you're always looking for a good pen, right? My wife found this one, and it is the manliest pen I've ever seen. It's kind of like I don't know, some type of weapon or ammunition or whatever, but really, really cool pen. And since I'm writing constantly in my journal, it's nice to have something that makes the writing even more fun. So real quick, let's talk about what's going on at Ancient Ways. This week camp is still going on right now. Mr. Brennan's given them a couple minutes for me to make this video, so they'll be quiet for a bit, but they've been training hard and playing hard and having a great time. We still got about 3 slots left on various days throughout this week and the beginning of next week. So if you are needing somebody to watch your kid for you, or they're just bored at home, get with us. We can help you out with that. All right. And we're getting ready for our beginner and We Warrior graduation on the 7th. It's going to sneak up on you because we're back to class next week, and that Friday is graduation. So make sure you're here this week as best you can. I know a lot of people are on break and are out of town and whatever, but if you're in town, definitely get to class. Okay. All right. Next week, we're starting our speed challenge. So we're going to do a check for everybody who's going to come in. We're going to see how many kicks you can throw in 30 seconds, how many punches you can do in 30 seconds. We're going to track that. And over the course of the next 6 weeks, we're going to train you to see how much you improve and try to get you some improvements. And at the end of the 6 weeks, we'll test you again. Those who improve the most will win free Kindle Fire tablets. And so we definitely want to make sure that you're here next week to get your test done. Otherwise, you're not qualified to try out for it. Okay. This week we have our abridged schedule. I've already had a couple people call that apparently still have not got the word yet that we have an abridged schedule. If you don't have a copy of this, it's on our website. Our website is our initials, awmaa.com. Click on blog. It's like the third or fourth post is this schedule. It says adjusted holiday schedule or holiday schedule or whatever, and so you can see what classes to come to. I had somebody asking today if we had classes earlier in the day since the kids are out of school, and I explained, sorry ma'am, we have a camp. They can welcome to do that, but she's just looking for an earlier class, and so unfortunately we don't do that during the holidays. We have staff on vacation and that want to be on vacation and don't want to be here as much because it is our break. Most schools in the country that are of our quality close for 2 weeks during the holidays, and we used to. I just can't in good conscience do it anymore. What would I do? I'd get bored, so I'm here. So let's talk about classes this week. We've got really fun classes this week. The end of the classes on Monday and Tuesday are going to end with what we call sumo shove or sumo push. The students get a sumo shield. They test out their stance by pushing against each other to try to push each other off of the mat. This is a really, really fun activity, but it's also great training for their stance, and I have a story that goes along with this I'm going to share with you at the end of the video. Also, later on in the week, one of my all-time favorite class activities is walking kick drills on the mat. So somebody holds kick or the shield, and the students walk all the way down, throwing one kick after another, or sliding and getting advancing kicks or whatever. And they're really, really a great drill to get repetition, to get height, to get power, and to work on balance as well. So it's a really, really fun activity. Okay, so now let me share this story with you guys. And you may never have heard of him. His name is Gishu Funakoshi, and he invented what is today called Shotokan Karate. He's from the small town of Shuri in Okinawa. Shuri-te is a style of karate that he grew up doing, but he invented Shotokan to spread martial arts or their Okinawan style karate to the world. And it influenced every other martial arts style. A lot of Taekwondoists won't admit it, but they stole all their patterns from Shotokan karate. He was also the first guy to implement a standardized belting system with colored belt ranks. And it really is, as much as we think, oh, that must be ancient history, it was the early 1900s. So for some of you, that seems like ancient history. For me, it was in my grandfather's time period, so it wasn't really all that long ago. And so let me tell you this quick story. This is a witness story written by Funakoshi Sensei, that's what we call him, his neighbor, Mr. Togawa. He didn't want to tell the story himself because he didn't want to sound like he was bragging or anything. So Mr. Togawa says, the sky above was black, and out of it there came a howling wind that laid waste to whatever stood in its path. Huge branches were torn like twigs from the great trees, and dust and pebbles flew through the air, stinging a man's face. Okinawa is known as the island of typhoons, and the ferocity of its tropical storms defies description. To withstand the onslaught of the winds that devastate the island regularly every year during the stormy season, the houses of Okinawa stand low, and they're built as sturdily as possible. They're surrounded by high stone walls to help add an additional layer of protection, and the slate tiles on the roofs are secured by mortar. But the winds are so tremendous, sometimes attaining velocity of more than 100 miles an hour, that despite all precautions, the houses shiver and tremble during the storms. In that part of the world, they call hurricanes typhoons, so these are really hurricanes. During one particular typhoon that Mr. Togawa remembers, all the people of Shuri, the village there, huddled together within their homes, praying for the typhoon to pass without wreaking any great damage. No, I was wrong when I said all the people of Shuri huddled at home. There was one young man up on the roof of his house who was determinedly battling the typhoon. Anyone observing this solitary figure would surely have concluded that he had lost his wits. Wearing only his underwear, he stood on the slippery tiles of the roof and held in both hands, as though to protect himself from the howling wind, a tatami mat. Now, a tatami mat's kind of what they slept on, or was their flooring? It's a pretty solid piece. He must have fallen off the roof to the ground time and again, for his body was smeared all over with mud. The young man seemed to be about 20 years old, perhaps even younger. He was of small stature, hardly more than 5 feet tall. People were pretty small in Japan at this time period. But his shoulders were huge and his biceps bulged. His hair was dressed like that of a sumo wrestler with a little top knot, a silver pin. The silver pin indicated that he belonged to the shizuku, or noble class. But all of this is of little importance. What matters is the expression on his face. Wide eyes glittering with a strange light, a wide brow, copper red skin, clenching his teeth as the wind tore at him. He gave off an aura of tremendous power. One might have said he was one of the guardian spirit kings. Now the young man on the roof assumed a low posture, holding the straw mat aloft against the raging wind. The stance he took was most impressive, for he stood as if astride a horse. Indeed, anyone who knew karate could readily have seen that the youth was taking the horse stance, the most stable of all karate stances, and that he was making use of the howling typhoon to refine his technique and to further strengthen both body and mind. The wind struck the mat and the youth with full force, but he stood his ground and did not flinch. Now, the story is not a suggestion that anyone should do this, and even Funakoshi in his later years discouraged people from this challenge. He was young, and it was a challenging thing, and young guys do that, even today. This story is instead an example of the powerful focus we should apply to the strength of our stance. Is yours strong enough to withstand the onslaught of a typhoon or a hurricane? I'm still working on mine. See you guys in class, and if I don't, have a great week.